Welcome to the morning show. I am Marshall Shore.
And I'm Melissa Farley. We're here at
the
the fabulous Arizona
Center.
And we are here today to talk about serious business.
Indeed.
No, it's not. I mean, it's important.
It is serious, but broken down in digestible bites.
Yeah, so Josh is here with Desert Financial Credit Union to talk about wealth management. And we have so many questions. I think are actually feeling very inspired by our time with Josh. So this is going to be an extremely helpful segment for people that have questions about debt, about saving, about investing, and I think just how to think about money and why it might be a good option to work with somebody who is an expert and can support you along that journey for long-term planning and long-term goals. So stick around, meet Josh. You're gonna love him. Hi.
Hey, what's it going on?
Well, I wanted to say a quick thank you to everybody who came out to my first Level Up Biz Lab workshop. It was a great group, and everyone was so engaged. They had such a good time. People were excited about what they could do with AI. This first one was about AI and kind of how to help your marketing efforts and help you with efficiency.
Oh, yeah.
So it was really awesome. The next one is going to be about social media marketing. So I know there were people that were a little hesitant about the AI one. Social media, on the other hand, is something that pretty much everybody's doing, especially business owners and
or not doing, and that's why
needs to be doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I want to say this. I keep saying it. It's on the website too. Like, this is beginner friendly. There's no stupid questions. You don't have to know anything. This is just a very safe space. I'm sharing stuff that I've learned along my way, and kind of my, God, I was gonna say 25 plus career in media. Holy cow, I'm old. But no, I guess that's a benefit to you that I'm old and have knowledge built up.
Yep, that old Melissa, she's such a benefit.
I got that going for me. But yeah, that next one will be coming up. You can actually register now on themorningshow.com to save a spot, and we're going to be talking all things social media. So yeah, I'm just really encouraged and feeling grateful for that first one.
Fun.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, it's like, and we're launching the 13th season of doing haunted history tours around downtown, so that's exciting.
That is exciting.
And so we've got Saturday and Sunday, and then we've already got like some stuff in November going on.
That's right. And speaking of Halloween, there is going to be a huge Halloween event happening here at 726
that's
Studios.
Right.
There's going to be some family days happening the 25th and the 26th, and then there's going to be some adult parties happening, not like dirty adult parties, just 21 plus with alcohol, happening the 30th and the 31st. Tickets are at 726studios.com, but man, they're talking about some big stuff coming in.
Yeah,
so.
Lots of cool stuff going on.
Yeah. Okay, but the main reason we are here today is to talk to Josh and I think finally inspire Melissa to actually talk to an advisor.
Well, I mean, the thing, it's like with Josh, I mean, he was able to break things down because it's like sometimes you just feel like you're going in a big circle. You ask a question, you get another question. It's like he actually was like, okay, here's what's going on.
Well, and I loved that he straight up and very clearly acknowledged a lot of the mental and emotional components that go into money management, and how important that is for, whoever you're working with to understand those behaviors and help you through that. So I think that gave me a lot of peace, other than just the knowing all the knowledge and all the
very
things.
Much so. Right.
So he's definitely somebody that I feel encouraged by, and I shared that I've been a member with Desert Financial for a very long time, so I can attest they have incredible customer service. I've had nothing but a positive experience with them. So yeah, we're very excited to have Josh here with Desert Financial, and I hope that you find it as helpful as we did. If you have any questions for Josh or anything that you'd like to know, you can email us at hello@onthemorningshow.com, or you can hit us up on Instagram. We'd be happy to share that with Josh. He's super accessible and just really wonderful at what he does. So keep it right here. Let's meet him and learn about what we should and shouldn't be doing with our dollars.
Welcome back to the morning show. I am Marshall Shore.
And I'm Melissa Farley. We're here at
the fabulous Arizona Center.
And we have a guest here who is going to talk about some pretty important stuff, probably stuff that you and I don't think about as often as we should. I'm going to speak for both of us when I say that. We have.
Is it numbers?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It is numbers related for sure. We've got Josh here from Desert Financial Wealth Management. How are you?
Doing great today. Thanks so much for having me out.
Yeah, thanks
And
for
numbers
coming on.
can be fun sometimes, you know, especially when they're moving in the right direction.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
True.
I feel like you just got to the heart of the problem
Yes,
right
yes.
there. Okay, so before we even get going, talking about some topics, for maybe folks that are new to the idea of wealth management, what does that even mean? What do you do exactly?
That is a great question. And it's been called many things over many years, but really what we're talking about is planning. That's what we're talking about, financial planning. And so when you think about wealth management, a lot of people immediately go to the stockbroker, or they're thinking about investments, but it's so much more than that. When we're talking about truly managing wealth, we're talking about every aspect of life, and it's a journey, right?
Yep.
It changes over time, all the way from cradle, as I like to say, to legacy. And
Right.
so there's many topics to consider. It's not just investing, but that, of course, is a big part of it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying that. And I think what my first introduction to any kind of money management, wealth management, was when I was in college. And, you know, they teach you, well, back in the, I'm blanking on his name. I can see his bald head and remember the talk about not paying for things unless you can pay for it in cash.
Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. He has a large following.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. So I keep thinking about, when college specifically, it was like how to think about debt, how to manage your debt, and how to be mindful of that. Because a lot of times with that period in your life too, you're going into student loan debt, and you might be going into debt for the first time. Can you talk a little bit about the best way maybe to think about debt or
Yeah.
tackle debt? And I know there's good debt too.
There's good debt. There's, you know, if you talk to Dave Ramsey, he says no debt is good debt, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is, debt is something that you can leverage at times to create an opportunity for you, but you have to be really disciplined about how you're going to manage that debt. And a lot of times you think about, like I remember back when I was in college, you know, what's most of the debt we're looking at? It's probably school,
Yep.
it's probably car, it might be credit cards, unfortunately,
Yep.
and they all have different purposes. And when you think about the assets or the investment that you're making, because like college debt, you're making an investment in your future, right? You got to really be considering, what is this going to actually cost me in totality over the period of time? And so that's where a lot of times investing in just having fun and running up the credit cards, you know, sometimes we all make that mistake a little bit, but the reality is it's all about proper budgeting. So again, going back to planning, making sure you have a plan for both the debt in addition to your income, whatever revenue you have coming in,
Yeah.
and how you're going to manage that throughout the different changes that you're going to have in life.
And I assume there's different comfort levels of what people, kind of the thresholds that people are willing to take on.
Yes.
Like, you know, I've talked to a lot of entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs that will sometimes take on millions of debt at a time, but it's because they're confident that they're going to be able to not only compensate from that, but eventually make a profit. Now that sounds terrifying to
Yes.
me. Like, I don't think I would ever do that. And so I'm curious, when somebody first comes to talk to you about a debt situation, you know, what are some of the first things you assess with them?
The first thing we're going through is we're looking at their financial situation, looking at both what assets that they have loans on, right?
Yeah.
What debt that they have that would be unsecured, that would be like credit card debt and other things. What are the interest rates associated with each of these things? And in some cases, to your point, some of the debt that you might have also might have an asset that's producing revenue for you.
Right.
But when you think about most debt, like vehicle loans even, those are depreciating. I even hate calling them assets because they depreciate in value over time as you use them, as they get older. And so, we're looking at what income, what revenue is coming from that, what is the debt load that individual has, so that we can have a plan for every dollar that's coming in.
Okay.
A lot of times when we think about budgeting, a lot of people like to use the 50-30-20 rule, right? And part of one of your expenses is actually investing in your future, is actually saving.
Yeah.
Taking care of your future self.
Yeah.
We don't want to make our future selves angry at us, right?
Yeah.
And so we have to think about what we're doing today. And so 50% of it, typically, that's going to go to your normal expenses. They say 30% approximately. I always like to push it down a little bit lower. That's for discretionary spending. And then the other 20% should be going into some type of savings. Now, you don't want to borrow from a place to actually invest in the market or something like that. There's some volatility associated with that. And you do want to tackle your highest interest debt first in any situation.
Okay.
So it really is kind of looking at that entire situation and then coming up with a plan so that way we can make sure that we stay on the right path for the future.
I think talking about saving is really interesting, and that's probably where I've been spending the most time thinking about my finances. Is my husband and I are guilty of, like, we have a decent amount of savings and it's just sitting, like it's just sitting there. And I think both of us were raised to be very fiscally skittish about investing, and so, but I know there's some kind of safer options that are better than just sitting in a traditional savings account.
Yes.
Can you talk maybe about what a good savings plan might look like?
So even when you talk about savings, the first thing that I always say is make sure you have your emergency savings. This is liquid assets, so money. You might put in a savings account or a money market savings account, something that you can access, so that way if something occurs, you have that backup. So, your water heater goes out. What are you going to do if you don't have a home warranty or something like that? You need to have some money to pay for it because you don't want to have to borrow to fix that situation, right? So that's the very first point of savings. Then you need to think about what are some of my midterm goals and how do I want to save for those goals? And then what am I doing to actually invest in the future? And so when you think about a traditional savings account, you're not earning barely anything by just having it sit in there.
Yeah.
And when you look at inflation, over time, your money actually is devaluated by about 2 to 3% per year on average. Now, during the last 5 years, that's escalated. So you have points where that's actually a lot more versus other periods of time, but that's an average if you just look at the last 30 years, right? And so when you think about how you're actually investing that money, you have to make sure, and I see this happen so often, especially with young people, they're concerned because they don't have enough information or they don't feel like they have anybody they can talk to that can really break down all the different investments that you potentially have. But it's looking at what are you willing to take what's your risk tolerance? What are you willing to take a little bit of risk on? What portion of money? And if you're taking a long-term horizon, so even if you look at like the S&P 500, right? So we know that's the 500 largest companies in the nation, right? That are available in the stock market. So if you look at the average return over the last 30 years, it's about 8 to 10%. And so when you think about how your money can compound over time, even though there's going to be times where it's down and it's going to get a little scary, you want to have someone like me to work with and talk to. And I'd say we're counselors a lot of times too. Behavioral finance is a real thing, right? But if you think about that, that means if you're earning just that average, and sometimes a little better, sometimes not so good, right? You're going to double your money about every 8 years. And so when you think about planning for your future and keeping up with inflation, that's what you have to do.
Man, I know. I keep hearing this and I'm like, I gotta do it. But here's what I want to ask. Again, maybe for people that this is their first time considering something like this. What kind of money are we talking when you want to invest? Like, do you have to have 20 grand to throw around? Can you invest 5? Like what does that look like?
So the world has totally changed, right? you do not necessarily have to have a lot of money to invest anymore. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people wait for. They wait for the perfect situation so that they can start investing because everything's exactly right and I can put X amount of money away. But think about it this way. So if I look at how my money can actually compound and grow, $1 today, if I was, let's say, 20 years old, by the time I'm 60, that same dollar is going to be $32 if I'm just disciplined about investing. And so you can start with as little as $5 typically to start investing. You don't have to have a lot of money. Okay. And typically what will happen is you'll have a lot of options that might be just things that you can do yourself or things you can work with like a call center or something like that just to get started. Once you get to a point that your investments are a little more sophisticated, you really want to sit down with someone because it's more than just investing for the long term. You want to take into consideration what are future tax consequences? How does that work, right? What does it actually look like for, the risk and the goals that you have and how have those changed? Right. And so I always tell people, it's like that old adage, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best plan is today, right? Yeah. That's the second best plan. So don't wait until you have a lot of money. Start now. And if you're doing your budget appropriately, you got your expenses covered, you have your emergency savings covered, then start thinking about how you're giving that other portion of the money to your future self.
Okay. Can I ask a frank question? Because
Please.
I don't think we've ever talked about this with another financial expert before. How does the arrangement work with a wealth management firm? Like, is it just a monthly retainer? How does that usually work? Yeah.
So it depends on the type of account you have, and it depends on the type of investments that you're working with. So a lot of them, you've probably seen the commercials and things out there that say, we do better when you do better, right? What they're talking about is they'll charge a percentage of the total amount of money that they're managing for you. Okay. And usually those fees are either assessed monthly or quarterly. Okay. And so it's commensurate with, and you would say the general average in the marketplace is around 1%. Okay? And so the idea is that they should be someone who's helping construct a portfolio that's diversified for your specific goals that we're working on together over a period of time. And then as you invest that money, you should be able to earn a better return than what you would potentially get on your own by working with a professional. Right. And so that fee should be nominal. And in fact, the data actually tells us this. When you look at industry-wide, on average, what the returns are that an advisor is getting when they're working with clients versus someone doing it on their own, usually it's around 3 to 5% more that person's going to get. And I would say the most important part of that is that behavioral finance side. Yeah. The emotions. Money is not just math. Yeah. It's very emotional too. And so that's part of what an advisor does. And then they're also helping you navigate through your goals, what you're comfortable with from a risk perspective, and then also how to actually change things over time. Yeah. Because it's not static. It's not like you just do it once and you do the same thing over and over again. Yeah. Consistency and discipline matters, but you have different needs at times.
That's true. Yeah. It's funny hearing him talk about behavior. I always think about on the Law and Order and murder shows are always like money or sex are always the motives for murder, and I'm like, you got a high risk job.
That's true. I didn't even realize it.
Okay, so let's talk. The other thing that I think we hear a lot about, but maybe it's not the most accessible or easy to understand, even though it probably should be, 401ks.
Yes. So 401ks or 403bs, for some people it's the same structure as a 401k, but it could be like for teachers have a 403b, so same kind of structure.
I was like, I never heard of
that.
The
first thing that you want to think about is what are they actually providing you in a match? And so it breaks my heart because we talk to a lot of people, and I even think about my younger self. What would I have done differently when I was young, right? And I wish I was still young, but time goes. But you look at that and you'd say, okay, well, a lot of people don't even realize that most companies have a match. And so a lot of companies, it's either 4 to 5%. So if you put 4 to 5% of your paycheck into a 401k, they're probably going to match around 4 to 5%. And so that's 100% return on your money. Yeah. Automatically. That's free money that they're giving to you for your future self. And so if you save 4% in that case, you're actually saving 8.
Right.
And so first and foremost, I always say make sure you're getting your max actual contribution that's being matched taken care of.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even matter about what else you have going on as far as, a lot of people say, well, what about this 20% credit card that I have? Shouldn't I put the money there first? Well, yes, you want to pay off that debt, but if you're giving up a 100% match of your money, then maybe that's not the best place, right? You should still do that and then find a way to pay down that larger debt also, that higher interest rate debt at the same time.
That was one of the, because I got kind of a corporate job when I was pretty young, and that was one of the first things, like my dad was like, okay, they match, you're gonna do, you're gonna go in, and I was like, okay, and like, I didn't really pay attention because again, I was young and it wasn't something that I don't know, that I was top of mind for me. And so when I ended up leaving that job 10 years later, it was funny, I was talking to my husband and he was like, how much do you think is in your 401k? I was like, I don't know, like 16,000 or, I was like, I don't know. And we look and I'm like, oh my God, what? And now I'm like all about the 401ks. Yeah, so I just think it's interesting.
And part of that's the power of compounding, the power of time. There's nothing more valuable than time. And so you have to think about what you're actually giving away when you're making those short-term decisions today versus spending time in the market. And so the other thing I would say is, you want to talk to someone and consider, are you doing a Roth or are you doing a traditional? And so, a lot of times in the past, you didn't even have a Roth IRA option available in your actual 401k, but many of them, in fact, most of them today, have them available. And what you get out of that is when you actually retire, once you're 59 and a half, you start to take withdrawals from there, you're actually not going to pay taxes on the gains. So early on in life, when you have this long time horizon before you're going to touch this money and use it, a Roth IRA is a really good consideration for most people.
Yeah.
And you might still put some into your traditional IRA. We talk to people, because you think about it, if you put it in before taxes, right, out of your paycheck, then there's more that you're investing because you're not paying taxes on it.
Right.
And so you want to consider both options. I personally do both, but it all depends on that person's individual situation. So if you have both of those available, really consider maybe doing a little bit into your Roth, if not all of it, especially when you're early on, starting out, and don't necessarily have a really big paycheck and a really big tax bill.
Yeah. I think it's funny because my mind keeps going to being young and starting out, and also to my dad, who is starting to kind of plan for if he passes. My mom, like, is she going to understand where all the money is? And is there a way to simplify things? And, it's like, it's just interesting how you said your money needs do change, over time. And having that support, I think, is just so crucial, because otherwise it's like me, and I'm just like, I don't know what's happening.
Well, and then also, there's so many things out there now. You hear the stock market, but then, I have some friends who are going, oh, I'm in crypto.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know.
That's a big thing right now. Yeah,
it's a huge thing right now.
Yeah.
I have friends that basically that's how they make their money.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I have no clue.
Do you handle crypto?
So we don't do crypto at Desert Financial, but we have plenty of clients that are talking about it, that are doing, and there are some things that are available. There are crypto-based ETFs and things like that we do have available through our partnership with Raymond James. And so we work with Raymond James, which is one of the largest, and actually was voted by J.D. Power the most trusted advisor group in the nation this year. And so we work with them to make sure we have access to absolutely everything that our clients would potentially need. And at the same time, you're doing it through a local financial advisor here with Desert Financial. Where we're just focused on giving back to the community in ways, whether it be sharing knowledge, managing money, or many other ways that we give back to the community. And so crypto's really interesting because it clearly has a place in society today. It's also still very speculative. This is why you see it move up and down quite a bit. So when you talk about a diversified portfolio, you probably don't want to have all your money in crypto, right? You want to look at all the different investment options that you have available to you, and then create a portfolio based on your personal situation. And that could include some crypto.
Okay, so I'm thinking there's going to be some folks watching this who are maybe interested in either switching to you or coming to a wealth management service for the first time. how might they do that?
So one of the great things about the way we work as a credit union is you've probably heard out there, a lot of these firms, they have $1 million minimums to work with a financial advisor to get a financial plan, things like that. We do not do that.
Okay.
Because we're a credit union, we're serving the community. So we typically say we work with clients at least 50,000 or higher.
Yeah.
When you look at actually coming over and working with us, so many ways to get a hold of us. You can call, stop by a branch and schedule an appointment. You can go online and schedule an appointment right online with one of our financial advisors. We have an entire team that serves the entire valley. And it's one of those things where we just try and make it easy, whether someone wants to meet in person, whether someone wants to meet electronically or just over the phone. We have all kinds of account offerings available for people. So the one that I gave you an example of on the fiduciary side, charging that 1%, there's also other things. And we have insurance products, we do estate planning, we do Medicare, we do long-term care, we do kind of soup to nuts. We do the entire holistic view around really doing financial planning right. And so, you mentioned like your father, he's getting to a point where he's thinking, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
Needs change over time. And a lot of people, they're focused a lot on just how do I get to a certain number? And they don't think about what next.
Right.
And there's a lot of things around insurance, whether it be Medicare, whether it be long-term care, how that estate is actually going to pass to their loved ones or charities or other things. And we do the whole thing. We want to serve the entire member when we're actually working with our clients.
And I do have to say, I've been a member of Desert Financial for pretty much my whole life.
Wow.
Because my aunt, when I was born, started an account for me.
I love it.
Yeah, and that was really cool. And I've just always loved the service there, and it's been, with other banks, sometimes it's really hard to like connect with a human and make those appointments. And I've never had those issues with Desert Financial. And they were the first ones when I like reached a certain threshold. They were like, "Hey, what are you doing? Like, you have a lot of money sitting here. Like, what are you doing? And I was like, I never thought of, and I felt so appreciative that they reached out to me to talk about the options that were available. So I'm just saying, I'm a fan.
I love it. Thank you for your membership.
Yeah.
I love it. And hopefully you're working with one of our financial advisors, and if not, I got to get you set up.
I'm not. I know. That's why I'm like, listening to you. I'm like, I know. I need to do it. And
I think you soon will be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I've been saying
I'm going
it
to be reaching out.
Okay, good. No, seriously, I need the accountability.
I love it.
Well, thank you so much for coming by today. This was so educational and informative. I also felt like it was very easy to understand, which again can be
it can be daunting.
Challenge. Yeah.
And there's it's funny. We live in a society where there's so much information at our fingertips, and it's hard to digest it all and then figure out how to actually apply it in a consistent manner to your life.
Absolutely.
And that's a lot of what we do. That's why, as good as AI is, that's why humans still matter. It's the emotional side and the behavioral side of finance.
I can't tell you how many times I've like gone into an app and I'm like, okay, I might think about investing, and then I'm like, I just want a human to tell me that this is okay or not. So it makes a big difference, I think, and having especially someone that's as trusted of an institution as you all are and as connected with the community, I think that just has so much weight. So,
Well, and we have tons of financial literacy stuff available on our website. We have webinars we're hosting all the time and things along those lines. And so even if someone's struggling a little bit like you were to get started, start with some education and lean on your local financial institution like Desert Financial to help you with that, because that's a really important part of being able to gain the confidence and the discipline in doing those right things for your future. Yeah,
I think sometimes it's funny how you're just not presented with this information. Like the way I was introduced to it was at actually a women's entrepreneurs conference, and there was like a track where there were speakers all talking about finances, and I attended every single one of them because as a small business owner, I was like, I really don't know, so much, and you don't know what you don't know. And I'm just sitting there feverishly taking notes, on everything. And it kept coming back to me of like, why doesn't anybody talk to you about
Yes.
this, you know?
Well, it's crazy. It's not in our school system
It's not.
typically growing up, and unless you have parents that really guide you through it. I'm lucky enough where I started working in financial institutions really young, and so
Right.
I kind of learned through working in a financial institution, having access to all these people on a daily basis, and actually learning from what I saw in the conversations I was having with people that were kind of coming in for service also. And
Right.
so, but most people don't have that. Really smart, intelligent people,
Right.
you know, their expertise is in a different area.
Yeah, and that's what I want to remind people of. It's like if you've waited till you're 40, till you're 50 to do this, like don't have shame around it. You know,
Plant
just
a tree.
Yes.
Yeah, just
Plant a tree.
plant
right.
a
I
tree.
mean, that's
yeah.
the thing. Do it now because
now.
tomorrow,
Yeah.
tomorrow never gets here.
That's right.
And then you'll never get that shade.
Okay, I'm officially amped up.
I love it.
Yeah, I think it's finally happening, which I'm excited about. But if you'd like to join me in kind of taking some control over your financial future and
'Cause, I mean,
investing,
it is a scary topic.
It is.
It is scary, yes. But I feel less scared now than I did. It's weird. It's like maybe I just needed to like think about it and hear it, you know, a couple of times before I was ready to take the step. But yeah, no, this has been wonderful. Thank
That's
you.
great. Well, and this is what your financial advisor should be.
Right.
They should be there to help guide you through your financial life. And so, you know, think about the financial advisor's value beyond just the investments that they tell you to put your money into or how they
Right.
structure your debt or other things. It really is to help you through your life.
He's good. I like it. All right. Well, thank you again for being here today. We're going to have all the information in the episode, so you don't have to kind of hunt for the websites or anything like that. We'll have all that for you down below. But please stick around. Don't go anywhere. We have more awesome things coming your way right after this.
So, Melissa, you know how during like October you hear a lot about the Headless Horseman, especially if you're back east? Well, you know, Arizona has our own version.
We do.
We do, and it's probably one of the strangest tales to ever haunt this rugged land, and it is that of the Red Ghost.
I don't know this one.
Ah, a creature so bizarre that folks thought it had galloped straight out of hell.
Okay.
So our story begins on a remote ranch out near Clifton, Arizona. A young ranch wife is left home by her husband as he's out riding for supplies. The morning sun is barely peeking over the mountains, and she hears her dogs barking.
Okay.
And so she goes outside to see what's causing them to act up.
This is why everyone should have a dog, by the way. Seriously. If you don't want to die by evil, have a dog.
And that's when she first hears the odd sound
Okay.
of these hooves hitting the ground. And she sees this monstrous silhouette, probably 10 foot tall. It was huge. And this red hue, unlike she had ever seen before. And something or someone strapped to its back. And the dogs scatter. The one barely has time to scream before the beast charges. Her husband returns later to find her trampled.
I wish her husband didn't get a little...
So, that's a whole other story. Well, there's another story about that.
Okay.
But that's not this story. And so basically what he finds are these not horse tracks, not bear tracks. They don't know what they are.
Okay.
Some beast, they don't know what, and then they do find little clumps of red hair stuck in the bushes. So something ghostly was running around. One miner swears that he saw it silhouetted against the moonlight, and it had a huge lumbering human figure tied to its back, swinging just like a corpse. Now, this is where you might start to think this is just a tall tale. But there's a little bit of Arizona history in here as well. And so the U.S. had a camel corps experiment where basically Edward Beale led camels across the northern part of Arizona.
Yeah.
Well, and all was well and good until the Civil War happened, and that experiment stopped. And
Right.
so they sold some of the camels. Some of those camels were released
I was
out
gonna say
into
that
the
looked
wild.
like a camel track on the
So they were
screen.
released into the wild.
Okay.
And so that's where we think the story of the Red Ghost comes from. Now,
So a camel trampled a woman?
that is the story. And so if you're wondering about the figure, so basically what brought the experiment to an end was the Civil War. And people had never seen camels before.
Right.
And so dogs, horses, people were all scared of these nasty, smelly, snarling beasts.
Yeah.
And as a prank, some guys tied one of their friends onto a camel and sent him into battle. And he didn't survive, but he was tied on well enough
That the corpse stayed on
that
there.
the corpse just stayed on. And so then basically around in the same area, there was a farmer out, and he saw an odd creature grazing in his garden. So he pulled up his rifle and he shot it dead. And indeed, it was a camel.
Poor camel.
And so,
Just living his life.
indeed, so next time you're out wandering around in the area,
Wait, did it have a corpse strapped to it?
it did not.
Oh, okay. It was just a
So-
camel. He
so
shot a
it-
camel.
He shot a camel,
Okay.
but still, when was the time you shot a camel?
Never.
See, there you, because
But I don't know.
yeah, I mean, so next time you're out in the Arizona moon, and you hear that tom, 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 tom of those hooves, it might just be a camel coming for you.
With red hair.
Like Jack Halloran, but that's a whole other story. So this is why you want to stick around on the morning show, because we'll be bringing you more Arizona history, love, fun, and local stuff.